road trip, we're on our way. Welcome to After Dawn, the show where we sit down to have a cup of coffee with the cast, crew, and creators behind Hallowed Haven Studios Productions. I'm Bookkeeper, and with me today is the effervescent Termite.
Hello! Our guests today are Stabbykins, the player of Seigryn, and the player of Nienna, Bloodied Porcelain.
Hello.
Hello! Thank you for joining us today.
Welcome, one and all. And first up, Stabby. As this is your first time on this season of After Dawn, can you please tell us just a little about Seigryn and her journey up to this point in the story, and why dwarven soup is best soup?
Sure thing. Well, as we all know, Seigryn is the titular dwarven merchant. So far in this little story, we've seen her kind of carry the burden of having been someone who has survived a pogrom in Redania, who then traveled to the city that our party was in, kind of navigating a lot of the trials and tribulations of the first season, up to and including facing off against Gaunter O'Dim and his poems and riddles. And now we're here in season 2, apparently hitting much of the same beats that we did last time, with her always ending up in someone else's got some bloods and her puking off to the side. So, classic Seigryn.
Classic Seigryn. And because I'm interested, because as my partner likes mentioning, I'm secretly a Ventru. What does the merchant actually do within like the realm of the Witcher?
Well, do you mean like in terms of what she does in particular within the setting, or just how?
A little bit of both. A little bit like what does the merchant class do, like mechanically, and then like how does Seigryn sort of fit into that milieu?
Sure. Well, from what little I recall, admittedly my memory is not the greatest, but the merchant class kind of operates off of a little combination of, using some money to some mechanical benefits, like buying some eyes and ears for a little bit. There are also others where she can kind of get to know a little bit more about the town that they're heading to before they even get there. There are other things like, eventually, once I level up enough, being able to get treasure maps. Though that one I might not end up really picking up, since apparently those tend to be like a whole session thing, and I don't think we're really going to be able to squish those in anytime soon, since they tend to be in rather dangerous places, those treasures.
And she may at present have other things on her mind.
Yeah, like the incident that they just barely managed to survive, with her once again being covered absolutely head to toe in viscera.
Have you considered not getting close to the monsters?
Well, yeah, but that just wouldn't be as fun and exciting for our fans, now would it?
Alright, so this is actually a question for both of you. How stressful did you find that first day of travel with the threat of the Leshen? Just kind of hanging out, watching you. Can't imagine that was a great time.
The Leshen didn't bother me so much as that it didn't attack us. That was weird, considering what we had seen it do to another group. That was more stressful to me than the Leshen itself. It was, okay, look, if it's going after people, it's going to come after us. And then when it didn't, it was like, oh, whoa, why? And I'm glad that that kind of put me on edge enough that I was just like, all right, well, I now have to check over my horse when we get there, because this is weird. And it led to the amazing magical tick check scenes
Yeah, I'm
wasn't
genuinely glad that you
anticipating,
did
but were
that.
hilarious.
I'm glad that you thought to do that because I wouldn't have. I was honestly, for myself, kind of similarly not too bothered by the fact that the Leshen didn't attack us. I was honestly really glad about that. My kind of concern was the fact that we managed to get to an inn so easily right off the bat. That just kind of left me a little on edge. Like, okay, that was like way too easy. When's the other shoe gonna drop? And well, lo and behold, it did.
It did.
About half an hour later.
Fangs first, if you will.
Well, at least luckily we didn't have to deal with the stable boy vampire. That was nice.
That's true. So this next question is for BP.
Yeah.
Talking about Nienna shows a certain level of protectiveness of the other professionals. Is that something that's just integral to her? Is it we've seen her sort of start to develop this maternal aspect, especially towards like kids she encounters who have magic, the kids who are work around her keep, or is it more like noblesse oblige, where like I'm the lady of the house now, I am responsible for these people?
Oh, a little bit of all columns. I always pictured Nienna being a little bit more protective and drawn towards people who were helpless, because she's not. She may not be a badass witcher, but she's far from helpless and unable to take care of herself. Season 1 kind of kicked that maternal protective instinct into overdrive a little bit, because she not only is likely to try to take care of and protect people who are helpless and need it, but she's a mage, and mages are always on the lookout for more of their own that are coming into their power in the setting. And she already had at least one of those in her backstory that we have yet to run into. But so when we were suddenly confronted with a bunch of children who had special abilities, even if it wasn't like true magic, like the ability to weave chaos the way that she can, it was just like, oh, well, okay, I know what to do with this. And then she got thrust into the position of being everybody's boss. And she's like, oh, well, fuck. Now I'm also responsible for all of you too. Awesome. And there's a part of her that still feels really guilty about everything that happened in season 1, because all of the stuff in season 1 was because of her, even if she didn't do anything. Like, even if she wasn't the one who was doing the awful thing, it was being done, quote unquote, for her. And she got to find out about the awful tie-in with Seigryn's background, and all of that. So yeah, it's a little bit of everything.
Boy, howdy, did Solomon take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Hashtag gatekeep elf boss.
Were you telling me that you weren't ready to be everyone's boss or something?
I really wasn't. It was not my plan with this character. I'm not gonna lie. I figured I'd get romanced by one or two people, and would generally just get to be a problem, because that's what mages tend to be in The Witcher. I did not anticipate getting told that I was going to be everybody's employer. Saul kind of dropped that on us literally like a week or two before we came back for season 2, and I went, what? Really?
Welcome to today.
Welcome to the first day of the rest of your life, Nienna. She's like, oh, well, fuck.
Welcome to the
okay.
first day of the rest of your life, Lady Nienna.
Yeah.
All right, Stabby. So, Seigryn seems to have taken pretty well to acting as the spokesperson for the group, even if she seems to spend a bit of time, actually a lot of time, avoiding responsibility. What does she see as her role in the group, And does she have any greater ambitions other than just becoming a very well-seasoned dwarven suit?
Well, that is an excellent question. Well, honestly, I think lately she's taken quite well to being a teacher ever since the start the of our second season. Though sadly, we didn't really get to touch a whole lot on that before we got thrusted onto this road trip. But as for her role in the group at large, honestly, I think being the party face is a pretty good role for her so far. I think she's certainly enjoyed being that kind of person, even if inevitably she also ends up getting drawn into a lot of the violent conflict that she's much less prepared for. But beyond that, I think she's still kind of figuring herself out on that end. Just figuring out how to fit in with all these incredibly talented and violent people.
So I guess which future do you really envision? Seigryn, owner of her own brewery, Seigryn, steward of Lady Nienna's estate, Seigryn, empress of the world, she who pours one out on the graves of her enemies.
Seigryn, soup?
Always soup. Always soup.
Where do you think she's headed? Where do you want her to be headed?
She's Professor Xavier to a bunch of magical kids, obviously.
Yeah, honestly, that I was about to say. I actually brought it up.
My role.
I brought it up with Solomon, not even aware that BP was trying to go for the same thing. But I was like, hey, I figured she'd probably end up selling most of her stock, moving away from, the booze industry and, starting up an educational facility where all these kids could be safe and where she could be a teacher. Because as much as waking up all sweaty and covered in makeup was not as fun, I think she kind of grew on those kids for the most part. I think being a capable and well-seasoned teacher is definitely in the cards for her future.
Professor Seigryn. All right. Here at After Dawn, we ask the hard-hitting questions that make you think for a minute.
Oh, boy.
What level of camaraderie is it to be ready and willing to check your fellow party members?
I feel like you have to be pretty close to people. Yeah. I certainly. Now, I mean, we've all seen how thirsty Seigryn is, so Seigryn might not have to have quite the same level of camaraderie to be willing to check other people in the party.
Eternal thirst, that of a sponge.
Yes, eternal thirst. As the upcoming Seigryn merch will say, always brewing, still so thirsty.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, there's definitely a certain level of camaraderie that is required to strip down in front of your fellow professionals and be like, do I have ticks on me? There was a lot of bare ass happening off screen apparently, so
I mean, I think at least half of our would-be fighters were mostly undressed, if but barely managed to get undergarments on.
Also, you say that there was a lot of bare ass happening off screen, that isn't just always happening in this show?
I think it's just always kind of happening in The Witcher in general.
Not when we're all in the same room.
Well, not yet at any rate.
I don't think you're trying hard enough then.
No, Nienna's just in a committed situationship, that's all.
That's why she's a gatekeeping elf boss.
All right. So, another very, very difficult, hard-hitting question. On the list of preferred wake-up alarms, where does a Brooks' scream rate?
Ugh. 0 out of 10 would not recommend.
Far below 0. Especially in Seigryn's case, where it was the Brux's scream, and then everything else that was happening afterwards as she was scrambling to get at least some manner of modesty on.
Yeah. Try being in front of this girl and you think maybe she's got some magical talent. Maybe she's hoping to talk to you because you're a mage and you can help her. And then she turns into a monster and nearly, ruptures your eardrums. Great. It's awesome.
Now, if that isn't the catfish of the year, I don't know what is.
Literally half of my hit points in one attack.
You're fine. Turns out it was not Maybelline.
It was not.
Listen, BP.
She was not born with it. She died with it.
Most of that was internal bleeding, and that's where the blood is supposed to be.
No. Pretty sure most of the blood came out of my ears. It wasn't good.
And so before we ask for everyone's Yelp review of your overnight stay, I have an important question to ask, because as a member of staff, as a dedicated professional of the server, I know Termite wouldn't duck a question while on a live recording. And so, Termite, who's your OTP?
Fucking damn it, I knew this was going to happen.
Hey, absolutely told Buck I was just like, she fucking avoided it last week and that she wouldn't tell me in text, so you've got to ask.
The problem is, if I do duck the question, nobody will know because I'm also editing this.
Oh no, they'll know because I'm the one who puts this shit up on YouTube and Patreon. I'll put this shit in the comments. I'll add an overlay so that they can tell.
The importance of being an editor is to be invisible. They all gonna see you. You cut this out.
Listen, Termite, it can come from you or it can come from Microsoft Sam. You gotta pick one.
Cue the AI voice.
The problem is, I've never been one for like shipping characters. I do think, especially what we were seeing at the potentially almost saw at the end of episode 2, and this may or may not have been because Latte had said something about it earlier in the episode in chat. I think Seigryn and Nienna could be interesting, just to see how that would go, because I'm sure it would go fucking wonderfully in all ways, just as all relationships between our professionals go.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, I genuinely don't have much of an opinion on the situation. You're all
right.
Hot messes, and you are all perfect for each other, and that you will end up destroying each other.
Well, what I'm taking away from this is that your OTP is Seigryn and Nienna. That's what I'm going to tell everybody. So
you heard it here first, everybody.
The soup is real. The magic soup is real.
Termite is Team Sienna. That's good to know.
Oh no, I'm totally stealing Stabby's. This is Team Magic Soup.
Team Magic Soup.
We're the true potions right here.
Truly.
I know it's earlier than we're supposed to be asking each other questions, but because we're on the topic, Stabby.
Yes.
What's your OTP? Book you have to answer to. Stabby first, though.
Oh, well, especially with all the flowers going around, honestly, I am super waiting for Nienna and Brynhilde to finally really start noticing each other. I mean, mutually, That's honestly my big TP right now.
All right.
Fine. As the
You don't get to avoid it either.
as the server old, I have no patience for people who sit around pensively going, "But does she like me?" without ever actually coming out and asking. And so, for the moment, my OTP is Irileth and Nienna because they talk to each other.
They do. They do communicate. They're very cute.
Even if Irileth is, he can use some work.
Oof,
I mean, they all could use some work. It's The Witcher. That's just how this works. I don't feel like we could really pass all that much judgment, considering that this is a game that takes place in the world where the main character is called the Butcher of Blaviken. So, man slaughtered how many humans in like a single day?
That's a propaganda name.
I will pass all of the judgment that I want to.
Termite's like, what glass house?
especially now that you promised to take her name in vain in front of other people.
I mean, listen, I think I can at least attest that Seigryn is definitely the most well-adjusted out of the party. I mean, I don't know what you guys are talking about.
So we do have a policy here at After Dawn. If you're going to say something that's going to have you struck by lightning, step away from your microphone.
Yeah.
I mean, now I can't give her the most well-adjusted prize, because I'm pretty sure if you look at the ranking of who's had the most trauma, Nienna's at the bottom. Nienna's had the least amount of trauma of anybody else in the group. Because all of her trauma came in last season. She had a really good life before she met the rest of you fuckers.
Wow, that's a way of putting it. Okay.
I mean, it's true. When I rolled her life path, I got real lucky. She had a really solid upbringing. Where she had a tiny amount of trauma as a child, and then she found out that she had magic, and things got way better for like 100 years. And then she met you guys, and found out that the foundation of those really good years, kept a lot of secrets. But I still think if you compare it to somebody who lost their whole family in a pogrom and apparently copes by turning themselves into a soup and drinking a lot, and somebody who poisons themselves on the daily to hide their true nature, and then a witcher and an assassin. Nienna may still be in the running for the person with the least amount of trauma, the most well-balanced person in the group.
Well, hang on now. Drinking in terms of dwarven standards.
Stabby, there is nothing you can say to me that does not confirm that every time Seigryn has gotten drunk in this show, she has been a messy drunk, and not necessarily by dwarven standard. Dwarves drink all the time anyway. Seigryn drinks and gets messy about it.
The producers of After Dawn do not endorse the stereotyping of dwarves or any other races in terms of their alcohol consumption.
At least she practices self-care, okay?
I don't think
she
it
does.
counts as self-care at that point.
Oh, self-flagellation, really. For what it's worth, my OTP is Nienna and Irileth. I like the fact that they have conversations. I like the fact that they are, or at least they were before this latest round of whatever the fuck is going on with Heims and whatever. I like the fact that they were working to be better people for each other.
Another very important question. What do we think the over-under on how many more meals Seigryn's going to lose over the course of the season is?
Boy, it is anyone's guess.
Based on last season, we're what? We're 3 episodes in. Based around last season's averages, she's got at least another 3.
Well, don't forget now, most of last season wasn't. There was some combat, but it wasn't almost entirely focused on monsters like this season is apparently going to be. So, I don't know. I think we're going to see those rates really shooting high this season.
That is quite possible. But like last season, almost every time you threw up, or she threw up, it was because we had fought a monster and you got covered its guts. I was so excited to ask if last night was going to be our first does Seigryn Upchuck.
I can't believe. Cannot believe you would do me like that.
Yes, you can.
I can.
I absolutely can. This is fully in character.
So the Empress who barfs on the graves of her enemies.
Yes.
You know what? Yeah, let's go with that.
The Empress who barfs on the graves of her enemies after her friends put them in the ground.
I like how that's the focus of all this, and not the fact that she wrestling dove that man bat and got a really good clinch around that arm with Render.
Hey, listen, I'm not saying she's not a badass. I'm just saying she's got a weak stomach.
Yeah, you do lose points for immediately throwing up after the thing is dead.
Right. Some of the badassery has to go away a little bit if you immediately puke afterwards.
Badass, sensitive tummy.
The only thing that's bad around here is my tummy.
Oh, I love Seigryn.
She is truly a treat and a treasure.
I could see Nienna and Seigryn making a really cute couple. But I think Seigryn is a little too thirsty for everybody. And as we saw in the last session, Nienna has a teeny tiny little bit of a jealous streak. She didn't like seeing Irileth flirt with a barmaid, so.
Ooh.
I feel like that's going both ways with Irileth making quiet inquiries into who sent those flowers.
Oh, yeah. Which Nienna thinks he sent. Nienna's just like, oh, these are really sweet. Thank you. I know you just got me, but these are beautiful.
He has done nothing to change that perception of reality.
He has not.
And now I have to ask, since it was brought up, do we think Nienna might get back a little at him? Just a teeny bit? A smidge as a treat?
Maybe? I don't know. Nienna's on the verge of death right now. Nienna was big eepy at the end of the fight. Because mages burn through stamina so fast. Because every spell that you cast costs a certain number of stamina points. And normally you can take a recovery action to regain some. But Saul has said that that's not working for us right now with the Heims feeding off of us.
Yeah.
I went from just under half of my normal stamina pool. So I went from my full stamina pool is 45. So I dropped to 20 something. And then in one fight, I dropped from 20 something to 4. And was just oh, she's big eepy. She's just going to collapse. And she was at half hit points because she'd been hit by that Sonic thing. But yeah, no, maybe she might make him pay for it later.
Flirting also requires some chaos, so.
That is the kind of chaos that Seigryn loves.
She is very pretty and does have a makeup kit. So maybe when we actually get to a proper town, she'll flirt with somebody just to make him jealous.
I'm sure that can only go well.
Fine.
All right. Well, now we have actually come to the part where if our guests have questions they want to throw out at one another, or at us for some reason that we have nothing to do with this show other than prying into the deep and dark secrets of its cast. Stabby, BP, any thoughts, questions, queries, demands for answers?
So many.
Ooh.
But I don't think you guys can give me the answers that I need. That's a Solomon question, and Sol isn't talking.
I do also have a couple of questions from some of your fellow castmates from last.
Oh, sure.
All right. So last week, Overthinker asked, "Do either of you have backup characters, and if so, what are they?"
Yes.
I actually do not in this case, but BP, you go ahead.
I have a couple of ideas. I really love the druid class, so I've been eyeing them. Because I'm a sucker for anybody who gets magic, and the druids get some cool like sort of pseudo magic things that they can do. But I also super dig the witchers, and I think I'd like to play a witcheress. At some point. And I'm always down to play another mage. Mages are my bread and butter. They're fun. And Nienna's particular brand of mage has definitely been like her original build was designed around gathering and garnering power and empowering herself as much as possible. But since the game started, she's kind of grown and developed to have more stuff that helps with, the like dealing with monsters and different types of horrors that we've had to deal with. So I'd like to play I'd like to play another mage at some point that gets to go into like maybe healing as a specialty and not just a thing that they can also do. Because there's a lot of like very healing centric stuff that mages can do, and like there's a part of the mage skill tree that goes into being able to like make potions and get into alchemy, and it would be cool to play a mage who can like grow her own plants in like a single turn and then turn it into potions for people to use and whatever. That would be neat. But probably a druid or a witcher. We'd have to like TPK for the witcher to work though.
Yeah, probably. For me, well, I haven't like fully made a character. After watching a bit of the Dungeon Meshi anime, I've honestly found myself really kind of solidifying and kind of really being attracted to the idea of playing like kind of this nerdy man-at-arms who's like all bespectacled and really soft speaking and just has this like deep fascination of magical creatures and is traveling around the continent and just trying to learn everything he can that he can jot down in a notebook and charcoal, and is really friendly up until the point that people try and get violent with him. And ironically enough, he really doesn't want to fight people. He ended up sharpening his skills as a result of his encounters.
So he'd be like a warrior scholar.
Yeah, basically.
That's fucking cool. I'd be down for something like that. I
Yeah.
we joked about it behind the scenes right before session 1. Or was it right after session 1 where we talked about everybody when we finally party wipe, everybody just coming back as bards?
Oh,
Just
yeah.
oops, all dandelions.
Oops. Honestly, I would fully expect to go full bard boy band in that case. I think it would be mandatory.
Or like oops, all bards and like one witcher who is just this long-suffering sap who has to deal with the nonsense.
You know what? I would accept this poor schmuck witcher who has to deal with the witcher equivalent of BTS and all of their shenanigans.
That would be amazing. I'd love that. I'd happily play the Witcher. I'd love to be the foil to y'all's just group nonsense.
Got Witcher and Sync following you all the fucking time.
Yes.
All right, now I do have a much more serious question. Everybody put on your serious hats. We're getting on the Serious Time Express.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Grizz wants to know what your character's personas are.
No.
Oh, amazing. I haven't even thought about that. Wow, Seigryn's persona. I think I would personally have to go with a short, plump honey badger, if I had to be honest. And considering the amount of grappling and punching that she does, definitely a tiny, feisty little thing. I think it would very much match her.
And I do want to make it very clear this question is coming from Grizz. Please do not bother me about this. It was his question. Listen to last week's episode. He fucking asked it.
Hard pass.
Understandable.
Termite's like, understandable. Have a nice day.
Exercising my rights under the Fifth Amendment. I refuse to answer the question.
I would like to know from our host, what types of characters you think you would have fun playing in the Witcher universe. I have a concept about what Book would like to play.
Go on.
Either a druid or a bear school witcher.
See, so I mentioned this in the hype train talking to Saul, but the scholar shares a lot of DNA with the fixer in the game that Witcher borrows its rules from, Cyberpunk.
You mean the merchant?
Yeah, the merchant.
I was like, I don't think there is a scholar.
The merchant shares a lot of DNA there, and I think that class in Cyberpunk is very interesting, and I think leveraging that class in Witcher would also be very interesting.
That's fair.
But that's just me always finding my way to whoever the venture is.
Yeah, that is a habit you have. Termite, what class would you play and why is it the criminal?
First of all, fuck you.
Second of all, she'd play the criminal because
either the criminal or like the cat school witcher, maybe.
I mean, I would play a cat school witcher, but no, I would probably play a bard.
Yeah?
I think bards are fun. They're always fun and never get in trouble and never cause problems at all.
They're significantly less shady than you typically go for, babe.
First of all, they're significantly less shady than you've seen me play before. There's a very big difference.
Listen, I can only go based on my experience. We've played together a lot, and almost every single fucking time you've been shady.
It is a pretty shady response to say, well, all the characters you've never seen me play.
Nigh is the time of yippee and whimsy.
Stabby, we need you around like all the time. That's amazing.
I'm pretty sure it's gonna end up in the quotes hall again.
Yeah.
Right alongside. Yes. That was Brynhilda the Tall, but I am Brynhilda the Wide.
Yeah, no, I think bards are fun. I don't like talking. I like being a performer. It's fun. It's neat.
That's fair.
Yeah, I can get behind that.
Stabby.
Yeah.
If you could play any of the other characters that are already in the group, any of the other professionals, which character would you be most interested in taking over playing?
Oh man, that is such a difficult one. Boy howdy. I think if I really had to pick one, I don't think I could truly do all of them justice. But if I had to really pick one, I think I would have to pick Brynhilda, specifically because I would absolutely want to be in the pilot seat when we finally get to see the flower incident go down and just unravel everything.
That's fair. That would be very funny.
Watch the entire web come undone as the world crumbles around her.
Oh no, my tea. Oh, I spilled it everywhere. Oops. Oh no, did I do that?
Oh god, tea, it's everywhere.
Oh no.
Okay, but now in the opposite direction, hoisted by your own petard, BP.
I think I'd want to play Seigryn. I know I wouldn't be able to do a character that funny justice, but I think I'd have a fucking blast having a puppy. Me and Render would be best fucking buds, and we would be menaces for everybody else.
Honestly, so true. So true.
I think the one thing I could do, I could do Seigryn justice on is I would just flirt with everybody all the time, and it would be amazing to make everybody really uncomfortable.
You would be a lot braver about that than I am.
I could not be as funny as you, but I would happily show up and be charming and flirty and make everybody not know what to do with this very brazen dwarven merchant who keeps showing up and hitting on them.
Just like what I did with Geralt when I got to voice him in season 1.
Yeah, but not nearly as hot as that, because that was unfair. I can't. You're never allowed to do that voice around me again.
I think Solomon has explicitly confirmed that he will now be Sir not reappearing for this season, which makes me very sad.
Yeah,
but
hey, editor, can we just get a clip of Stabby doing the Geralt voice?
Howdy, it is I, Geralt of Rivia.
Fuck you.
But honestly, I think even if we can't fit it into the show, at some point we have to have like a side extra episode where we all play each other's characters.
Oh, the body swap episode. There's gotta be a body swap episode at some point.
Has to be one. I desperately want to play Brynhilda just so I can smack into every door frame possible.
I think if we did a proper body swap episode and it got to be Nienna in somebody else's body, I want to be Phoenix.
Oh, yeah.
Nienna would not know how to live being that tall, but she'd have so much fun being able to reach all the top shelves. What do you mean I don't need telekinesis? This is amazing.
Everything's a lot lighter.
Right? I have so much upper body strength now.
Brynhilda just walks on the scene and her face is just covered in bruises.
From walking into things?
Hitting the top of a door.
Got like a goose egg on her forehead.
Oh,
shit.
All right. Does anyone else have any questions?
I'm good.
I think I am fully questioned out.
Yeah, I'm all good.
All right, then that wraps it up for this episode of After Dawn. Thank you so much to Bloodied Porcelain and Stabbykins for talking with us today. If you, dear audience, want more of this overcaffeinated and undermedicated dive into the people and plots of our HHS stories, After Dawn comes out every Thursday. If you want that buzz while it's at its freshest and piping hot, come find us on Patreon. For the cost of a cup of coffee, just $5. You'll get all our monthly episodes of After Dawn just as soon as they're ready to go. They appear on YouTube about a month later. I have been Bookkeeper.
And I'm Termite, and we will see you next sunrise for the latest After Dawn.